All right, and we are back with episode 53 of The Bench, and we got some interesting news. Is it resilient? Hocuspocus.github.io. You can check this down in the description, and you can too check and see whether or not the people that you know are abusing resilient keys or not. I've pulled up Jang B of Illidan. This is what it looks like to key in the year 2025. And Jang B abusing resilient keys. How do you feel being caught?
Jangdi has one of the most honorable Raider IO pages there are, okay? You can go through Jangbi's top keys right now and you can see that I almost have a different group in every single top key that I have. Granted, Jangbi did get a little bit of a stepping stone, maybe earlier in the season, he wasn't quite qualified to get into the groups that he's in, but I think Jangbi can hold his own now.
I think it's so interesting that WoW players have such little to do in the game and so much time on their hands that they created a website to kind of call out other people for abusing resilient keys. What have we come to?
You know, we talked about gatekeeping a couple weeks ago. This is absolutely gatekeeping.
Okay, what about at the end of War Within Season 1, how there was that Google Doc that was floating around about key sales?
Oh God. I mean, I think that's different, but like,
is that different?
All the people, I think that's different. All the people that are like resilient people should get punished, get less score. That whole thing, that is absolutely just gatekeeping. You didn't get resilient. You didn't get a plus 19 the way that the rest of us did, so it's not worth it, or it's not the same.
I mean, I'm coming around to resilient keys a little bit, but I mean, I said this at the beginning of the season, and I think that anybody who's playing Mythic Plus right now at the high end is going to feel it. The title is going to be absolutely brutal this season. So I have right now on my mage all-time 19s and then 2-time 20s, which like the top key, like I think the top groups in the world are only resilient 21. Like I'm like 1 to 2 key level, like 1 key level or 2 key levels behind the top groups in the world. And I don't even think I'm safe for title. Like I think in the next 3 weeks it could very well go up. Like I am at the I thought it was fine, but I might actually have to go in and either try and get more keys timed or improve my times, or I don't know. What is your prediction on title now that it's
EU is so high too. I mean, EU's
oh yeah,
3784, NA's 3762. 3784 is like what is all 19s? 3800s, like all 19s.
I mean, I'm 3800 with 220s.
If you look at War Within Season 1, it went up 40 points the last week of the season.
Yeah.
So, and it was going up, remember the number, but I think it was going up like 20 or 30 points a week, and then the last week it went up like 40 points from this point onward. I find it hard to see it go higher than, what would it be, like 3820, 3830. I think it's hard for it to go much higher than that, just because of what those keystones actually are. But that is in terms of just anecdotal difficulty of doing the dungeons, that is much higher than it has been in the past, whenever you were trying to get the rank 1 Mythic Plus title.
I would be curious just to see the difference between Season 1 and Season 2 by the end of the season. Like, how big the gap is just due to resilience.
I think it's less about like the gap due to resilience, but it's more about like how hard these dungeons are that are required to get title. Because in the past, the Mythic Plus title was largely puggable through LFG. You know, more often than not, you're not going to be pugging it through LFG. It's actually a really difficult task. But there were some people, and I commend you if you were one of these people, who would spend an enormous amount of time and barely were able to get it. Now this is becoming close to the level where I don't think this is possible to do, just purely in LFG, because requiring people to do 20s is, I mean, dude, even the easiest of 20s are just insanely hard keys.
I mean, isn't that exactly why? Because of resilient, though? Like, because of resilient, the title is higher keystones, and therefore people aren't going to be able to pug it? Like, isn't it all technically caused by that?
Probably, yeah.
Like, to be clear, I don't think it's a bad thing, because it helps the non-title pushers get higher, but like, I think it's all like why the title is so high is specifically because resilient exists.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right with assessment there. I mean, Grau, what do you think?
I mean, I'm really interested with how it affects sales too, right? Like, I actually this season I've been out of the loop with sales, really. Like, but I mean, we sort of have mentioned this briefly in the past, but I mean, the sales discords communities, they're back. They're in full force. They're spamming in LFG. They're spamming in trade chat. There's giant discords like Pug, whatever. Now, granted, those aren't really going to do plus 20s, but my point is that the sales are out there. Like, I wonder. And the thing is, before it's like, okay, well, eventually, you get one try with a buyer. And when you have these really hard keys, it's like, well, okay, we depleted or this buyer isn't good enough. But I mean, if people don't know, the cuts that people are paying for these title keys are in the millions of gold. Like, it is basically like you get 1,000,000 gold per person for selling these title keys. If they're like a 20 or whatever, maybe it's a little less, but I mean, it's like multiple tokens per person. And I mean, why not just run it down mid for a few hours to try and get a key timed, especially if the buyer's decent. So I think I haven't really heard much buzz about it yet, but I think there's going to be a lot of people there's going to be a lot of people that are on the edge of title and that won't be able to get it. Because I mean, I've been hawking LFG a little bit and like seeing, I know the scene in EU is different. I don't want to speak entirely about EU, my experience is only NA, but the chance of you pugging a 20 in LFG is like basically zero. Like there's maybe like 120 every now and then that pops up, and like you're not timing that with just random 5 people, especially without comms. And if you're gonna need multiple 20s, I mean, it's basically gonna be impossible to pug title. Like, it is just unpuggable this season.
Yeah, I pulled up your character. I didn't know where your character was sitting. I was going to look at it, and you're at 3,800, and you have 2 20s and all 19s done. Right now, what was the title at? It was like 3762. So these people are already like pretty much at resilient 19 for the cutoff for NA, which is,
and it's probably going to get a little higher too.
Yeah, so. Well, especially if I
don't think you're safe. I do not think you're safe, actually.
Yeah, no, I'm back to like basically I was like hawking LFG, like trying to yoink in score keys here or there, but then I got to sort of where I'm at now. I'm like, all right, I'm probably done. I'll focus on PTR stuff and do other things, maybe play other games. And now I'm literally like, well, I'm probably gonna have to log back in, right? Like, oh, let me hit up my buddies who I was playing with before. Hey, you got some Resil 20s for Jangby?
Hear me out. What if we went with the success by griefing methodology? Instead of actually trying to help time the keys in LFG, you instead joined as a covert agent to make sure that they depleted to where their score never went up any further.
I have heard people jokingly say that they're doing that.
No way.
Just gatekeeping 19 priory. Just joining LFG and just making sure nobody could get that key timed.
That's fucked up.
Jesus.
That's fucked up.
We'll see where it ends up, but I like for me, I like as somebody who just loves data, I want to know how big. Oh, my camera. Is that your end?
Oh, no? That's probably my end. Don't worry about that.
Okay. How big the gap is? Because what was the end of last season in terms of like keystones
for title score?
Yeah, like what was it?
15s and 16s. It was like 3,500, 35 something, 3,550 maybe.
I think it was a little higher than that, wasn't it?
Not pulling it up.
I thought it was like 17-ish, but maybe.
Oh, 3,450.
Because I think the score usually increases every season naturally.
Right.
But then you also have resilient, which, I mean, a 400-point gap right now seems incredibly high. So I'm so excited to see where this ends up.
Well, a lot fewer people were playing last season, I would say, like pushing for the rank 1 Mythic Plus title, and you had more characters that were in the pool as well because it was the first season of an expansion. So that, for better or worse, does play into it a little bit.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it too. Like, there's probably a lot of people that had no desire at all for title that played the first season but not the second season. So there's just a lot of the truth of the matter. There's just so many compounding reasons for why this season is going to be so hard to get. Since
was barely on the cutoff, and he had half 16s, half 17s last season. He was
yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah,
barely on the war within cutoff. Yeah, he was 3471, so it was like 3450 ish. It was like 3455 maybe.
what sounds really fun is the race to world last thing that Max does. I feel like a race to title might be really, really fun.
Dude.
If there's I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a decent amount of pretty dang good people that are like literally last minute being like, I need to time a key here. Because I mean, I feel like a lot of the people that I talk, like, I think this is where Jangby's at, is like, I think the edge of where you can pug. Like, I think pugging most time 20s is nearly impossible. So like,
Wait, is
think
it?
I
I think
is it
there's
any
gonna
different
be
though?
What's the question? Sorry.
Is what any different?
Is like the same people who got title previously are probably going to be the same title who are going to get it this time. The difference is just it's higher, right? Like it's still 1%.
No, I think
whatever.
I think relative difficulty of the dungeons is a lot higher. Like this is completely anecdotal. This is not based on like any evidence or any data or anything like that. But like actually doing these dungeons is a lot harder than it was, say, in like Dragonflight Season 3 or Dragonflight Season 4.
Sure, but if you take the top, what is it, 1%?
0.1%.
What is
yeah.
the top 1% is still the top 1%.
Yeah.
Even if the skill gap this tier is bigger than last tier, the top 1% is still like it. Like instead of the spread being 21 to 9, or like last season it was 15 to 16s, the top 1% might be spread over 21s to 19s this time, but it's still the same people. No,
Sure, but the difference is that so if you look at like consistency of consistency of keys versus time spent, when keys would deplete and there wouldn't be resilient, consistency was more important. But now there are more
Okay.
people who can just spend a lot of time, right? So, and again, I'm not trying to say that, oh,
that's fair.
consistency means you're high skill, and if you dump a lot of time, you're a noob or anything like that. But just that now you can game more, and like you're more likely to see progress the more time you put in. So there are people, for example, that might not have gotten title before that can compete with those other 0.1% people because they play so much, right?
Gotcha.
And again, I'm not saying that's good or bad, right or wrong. I mean, we're playing an MMO
Yeah.
for like, of course, time spent all like that's always been a thing in Mythic Plus too. Like that isn't even necessarily changed with resilient keys. Like if you're a group that plays 12 hours a day every day, like you're just gonna have such a huge advantage because you're gonna have so many tries at the keys. And now it's even more so the more that you play, the more shots that you get at IO keys.
There's a couple of other, I would describe them as very small factors, but they are factors nonetheless. The fact that less characters have actually done Mythic Plus runs this season. If you look at some of the data, this is one of the lesser seasons in terms of the amount of people that are actually doing dungeons. That means that the title relative, it's going to be a more hardcore player base that is actually going or doing Mythic Plus this season. And then another reason, and again, it's a very small reason, but since the meta is so diverse, there are more people who view title as an achievable goal. And so they're actually playing to get title, where in past seasons, either they would have had to have re-rolled, but the more likely scenarios that they probably would have quit or just not gone for title. But this season, it's more achievable thing since it's a more diverse meta. So I mean, there's again, it's a bunch of. I think those are small reasons in the grand scheme of things, though.
I agree with all of that, but none of it has to do with the difficulty of the dungeons itself.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter how hard or how easy the dungeons are, because the top portion will always just be the top 1%, no matter how hard the dungeon is. Whether it's a 21 or a 16s, it should be the same general people minus the external factors that you just mentioned.
It's condensing down where the bottom of the title cutoff is normally skill-wise a lot further away from the top, but now it feels like it's getting closer and closer every single season. Which is, I don't think it's a problem.
I think the season is just good too, right? Like balance-wise, I think the dungeons are good. I think that they've made a lot of really good changes to Mythic Plus. From my experience being out in the streets this season, I've ran into a lot of people who have said, this is the first season that I've actually tried to push. Like, I think another factor, right, is there's so many good players in WoW. Like, there are so many good players in WoW that just don't, either they might raid in a more casual guild, or they could be in Liquid, but they don't give a crap about M+, right? But if they decided, like Dryny, for example, right? If Dryny decides he wants to get title, he's going to show up and he's going to be one of the best healers in Mythic Plus. But that guy doesn't care, right? Like, and I feel like this season there are a lot more people that are like, oh, this is fun, that are caring because of class balance, because of the dungeons being fun. I think like TGP being like a main thing now that everyone's competing for is like, you're seeing early in the season, people are hitting up, I'm fired up and all these
Yeah.
like, liquid people, Goop and stuff, trying to get them to get into keys because they want to practice.
So, have you guys heard about this Mage Discord thing?
Yes, I'm actually, yeah, it was posted around in my Discord as well.
Yes, I am.
So this is the second class Discord that's everyone pinged, I think, in the last month. The first was the DKs with hashtag grip is not a raid buff.
They're right, but you shouldn't pick everyone.
The second one, one of the Mage Theory crafters got banned. Not really sure how. And with Blizzard customer support, I think it's no secret right now that it's not great, and you usually get some form of AI response, unfortunately. And the only way to get a real response is to put community pressure on Blizzard, whether that's on Reddit or in this case, an everyone ping. And so they did an everyone ping. You could say what you want about this ping and how it happened, but as of right now, like as of a few minutes ago, Noranir posted, and he managed to get unbanned. He got a very real response.
Unbanned.
Oh, he already got unbanned.
That's why I'm bringing this up. So
wow.
He posted this in the Mage Discord. And it's just like, I'm glad it worked because Noranir does a lot of good work for the mages, and I think SimC, like, mages would not be as obviously as good as they are without him in terms of like APLs and stuff like that. But I think it's also just like really sad that this is how you have to get unbanned in the community right now, because this isn't the first time that someone's posted on Reddit where it's like, I got banned, and then it's like, and then Blizzard finally responds to them because it got traction on Reddit.
Yeah, I remember Crit Cake a couple of, maybe it was a year ago. Maybe I think it must have been back in Dragonflight. He randomly got false flag banned as well, and it required him to make a YouTube video. And of course, he has a decently sized audience. It's not like the largest audience or anything. I think he's got tens of thousands of YouTube subs on YouTube, right? So he's got a decent sized audience, and it took him doing that to get the character unbanned. I mean, unfortunately, this isn't uncommon. How are these people getting caught up in these bans that largely seem undeserved? Like, what is going on where these people are getting banned for nothing?
I don't know. And given the way Blizzard CS is, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if there are maybe some cut corners. And it's not 100%. Like, when you're looking at hacks in a lot of games, usually you need to balance the amount of false flags with the amount of people banned correctly. And that is a really tough line to balance, right? Like, in first-person shooters, it's really frustrating when you're going against the hackers, so you might set it higher. And that might cause more false flags, but you need to make sure they keep the majority of the hackers out. I don't know what it is for WoW. Like, it's definitely a tough situation for Blizzard to be in, but I don't even know what would trigger this.
Yeah, I'm glad that he got unbanned. The only thing I will say about it is it's not great that people are falsely getting banned. I hope that the people who are falsely getting banned and don't have connections to, say, the Mage Discord or Crit Cake making a YouTube video are able to right the wrong that happened to them, right? At the end of the day, it's like, all right, this guy's account was banned for 24, 48, 72 hours. It is what it is. It's not great to happen, but I worry about the people who don't have the connections to the Mage Discord where they can't make an @everyone ping, right?
Hello. Okay. As a little bit of a disclaimer, I don't know what's going on. My computer's like restarted twice during their call already. So
I was like cross silent.
For the viewers and for Tettles and Squishy, I don't know what's going on. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. It's not overheating. I don't know. Another thing about, I mean, okay, I don't want to sympathize with Blizzard, but just to point out, as someone who's like been in the online community for a long time, it is very, very, very common when somebody gets banned and they were doing something wrong that the first thing they do is lie about it and like appeal it or whatever.
Yes.
I'm not accusing these guys at all. Like, I'm not saying
he
this
got a ban, so I suspect that.
I'm not saying this of either of them at all. Like, both of these guys are like super respected members of the community. And he even pointed out in this post, like, bro, I know so many game breaking bugs. If I wanted to cheat, I would have done it 10 times over. Like, this guy is like very, very knowledgeable when it comes to the inner workings of WoW. But my only point is be wary. Like you see these pop up on Reddit and stuff from time to time, and you hear this like, oh, I got unjustly banned or whatever, and like 99% of the time they're guilty, which is like a really annoying situation. And while it's good that we, okay, this guy got saved and he got unbanned, it is, you are pretty much screwed if you ever get unjustly banned or whatever, because that's everybody's natural response when they get banned legitimately, is to say, oh, it wasn't me, blah, blah, blah. And so Blizzard, like, I understand why they basically don't listen or don't give anyone any credit. It's like, especially chances are probably the people that you're talking with are either AI, like they said, or somebody that has no authority at all to like determine if you were just like, okay, clearly they like banned you for some reason, right? And then a random customer support person nowadays in 2025 doesn't really have the ability to like decide if you were justly banned or whatever, unless it's for like very surface level things like, chat messages or whatever.
Brock, is this true?
Oh God. God damn it.
All right, let's talk about Mystic Touch. So, Squishy, I've had some critiques about this title. It says Monk's even more mandatory in Mythic Raid
like
in patch 11.2. I thought it was good, but some people said even more mandatory. Mandatory is a binary thing. Regardless of the title aside.
If that's their critique, I'm happy with that.
It's so silly. I just laughed whenever I read it. It says now Mystic Touch has been increased from 5% to 8%, with the dev note of saying the amount of classes that deal pure physical damage is quite a bit less than those that can deal magic damage. For this reason, we are making some targeted adjustments to Mythic Touch to better improve its overall effectiveness for physical damage dealers. All right, Squishy, take the first hack of this. As a raid leader, were you benching monks? How did you feel about the impact of Mystic Touch just kind of generally in your raid? Does this make Monk more mandatory, or was Monk already mandatory? What was kind of the situation with
I think it just
Mystic
depends
Touch?
on your group. So, like, it's definitely on the weaker side of buffs on average. Now, you could have, like, a triple hunter, triple warrior, like, weird comp where Mystic Touch is more powerful. But for the average guild, I feel like Mystic Touch was definitely on the lower side.
Okay.
And I think, like, in a vacuum, that is perfectly fine. For Might, we've never not had a monk. Like, we've never been missing a raid buff because we are, pushing Hall of Fame, that kind of thing. I think that is totally fair. But for, like, guilds like Erudite, we killed Galley without a DH raid buff. Like...
Well, okay, but that wasn't because you didn't want it even on a raid buff. It's because you didn't have one, right?
We just didn't have one.
Okay,
they were out.
See, this is a difference. Would you have fielded one if you had the option?
If we had one, probably. But also just, like... with the scaling raid buff and raid, because I think raid and Mythic Plus are very different here.
Yes.
For raid, I think with the scaling raid buff, you can miss any number of raid buffs at this point, past a certain point, and be perfectly fine. I don't think raid buffs matter past a certain point. Where that is going to be variable. But like when you're at plus 15% damage, that's like 5 raid buffs worth of damage at that point.
Tamari killed Razageth without Fortitude, and they got Hall of Fame on Raz without Fortitude.
Yeah. Like, we've killed bosses without Devo Aura before. Some bosses, Atropic Poison, one boss in the next raid, Atropic Poison doesn't even work on for like 90% of abilities. Like, I know people want to be optimal. It'll probably be fine for raid if you don't have it.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially if your warrior is a prot warrior.
So do we think that this, I think that from what we've seen from Blizzard in interviews and what they've stated, basically the goal of raid buffs is to make sure that every single class is represented in raid in some capacity. Does this buff to Mystic Touch take Monk from a class that wasn't already being represented to now one that has required representation, or do you think it was already required representation? Like, what's your kind of read on this so far? Because to me, this just kind of seems like, like you said, more mandatory. It was already required if you wanted to be optimal, and now it's been better. Like, there was no guilds that were killing Galley. There's very few guilds that were killing Galley cutting edge without Mystic Touch, right?
You could probably kill Galley without Mystic Touch, but I mean, I understand what you're saying here.
Zorthus ran the numbers, and apparently only like 50 guilds who have killed Gallywix didn't have Mystic Touch, and like 55 of them didn't have Chaos Brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zorthus has a really, really good video on this, basically going over, like, comparing. He ran a lot of numbers looking at the top logs of, not the top logs, sorry, the first kills of guilds and how, what raid buffs people did and didn't have. Very, very good video. If you're somebody who's like, oh, what's the problem with this? And you want like a more detailed breakdown, Zorthus does like a very, very good job of explaining the numbers in this video. I'd recommend it. But basically the TLDR is like, people bring Monk. Like, Monk is not a class that it's like, you know, people don't bring. And I think that, you know, you had mentioned that according to Blizzard's communication, the goal of raid buffs is to make sure all the classes are represented. I feel like Blizzard has been not so great at communicating about raid buffs and like exactly their purpose. The way I see it is sort of what you said. Like, in my opinion, a raid buff should be just as strong so that it feels like you really want to bring a unique class if you don't have it, and then no stronger is how it should feel, in my opinion. And I feel like they're missing the mark here with this, and they haven't, like, I almost, maybe it's just because of like I'm so Mythic Plus minded, so I could be very wrong here, but it feels like this is a Mythic Plus change.
I hate this is a Mythic Plus change. If it is a Mythic Plus change, so like to me, raid buffs. You know, is this really far-fetched to say? I feel like raid buffs are genuinely just for the Race to World First optics of how class balance is in World of Warcraft. Because there are so many raiding guilds that aren't going to be able to field all of the buffs, very similar to Squishy's Weekend Raid, that while they are performing well in a Mythic raiding scenario, they just don't have somebody who's playing Demon Hunter, right? And it's not that they didn't want the DH buff. They wanted the DH buff, but they just, you know, didn't have it for one reason or another. They couldn't recruit that person. And like, sure, but here's the thing is like, so the main argument is like, oh, okay, class stacking would get worse. You know, class stacking prior to these raid buffs wasn't already one of these things. Oh my god, we lost Squishy. Squishy's back. That was weird. Welcome back.
This is the Technical Difficulties podcast.
As I was saying, people would talk about like how you would class stack if raid buffs didn't exist. I just don't know if that's necessarily true. How many guilds have, you know, Gallywix was already played with 5 monks and 4 mages. Most guilds don't have more than 5 monks and 4 mages even on their roster anyways, much less the ability to be able to field anything more than that. So we're already seeing class stacking be at basically the apex of what you reasonably can do. So I don't even think the class stacking argument really holds much water, because I think that also once you start to class stack so much, you lose damage profile consideration from other classes, you lose utility consideration from other classes. There's a lot of stuff that's lost whenever you condense down your entire comp into just a couple of classes, even if that was a thing.
The devil's advocate is, if you don't is the direct opposite of that, is you would stack those with the good damage profile, like Sub Rogue on Smolderon. Like, if you didn't need a monk to buff those Sub Rogues, you would just bring a fuck ton of Sub Rogues.
But my point is that you're already incentivized to bring that many Sub Rogues as is, and just cut down on the other auxiliary garbage, right? Into class stack at the max of your capacity. The thing with class stacking is the reason that class stacking doesn't work really is a couple of reasons. First and foremost, it's hard to have people who can play that character at that level, and then also it's hard to have that many of that specific specialization or class geared. And geared at a point where it's also better than the other specs. I don't think that we claim to believe that, you know, balance in this game is like the greatest thing ever. Well, we talk about balance all the time, probably more so than we necessarily need to. But at the same point, for a class to be so much better than everything else that we're willing to get a second mortgage on our home and completely forego gearing all of these other classes, and we just lose all the loot that dropped off this boss, that's not very good.
Yeah. I think there's an assumption being made here, and like they haven't confirmed it, which is Blizzard tuning with raid buffs in mind?
I think the answer has to be yes. I mean, whenever you look at how, okay, this isn't 100% how they tune the game, but very frequently Blizzard's tuning goes in line. I mean, Zorthus talked about this in this video. Very frequently does Blizzard's tuning go in line with what we're seeing on Warcraft logs, on graphs, where they nerf the stuff that's at the very top, and they'll buff these specs that are at the bottom, and that happens relatively frequently. Most of the raid stuff is with consideration of raid buffs in mind, though.
Okay, but think about this: take 3% off every caster, take a hybrid 4% off hybrids, and take 5% off every physical damage dealer. The stats aren't going to change much. The only people who aren't going to change are Demon Hunter and Monk because they are the ones who are providing the buff.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody else moves down by approximately the same amount, not changing the rankings. Until now.
Yes.
So, like, I don't know that that answer is as clear-cut as people are making it.
So, what you're saying is 100% true for Raid, right? For Raid,
Yes.
they're going to for Raid, they're going to make the assumption that you have the buffs and it's not that big of a deal. Actually, it kind of sucks if you don't have the buffs and you're trying to compare yourself to somebody who does have the buffs and you're just 8% worse for some reason. You're just a really sad feral druid. Now, whenever we factor in Mythic Plus, and this is where things get really jank. So as it currently stands, you know, you take a full physical dealing spec like a feral druid, they get benefit from Battle Shout, they get benefit from Sky Fury, they get a little bit of benefit from Chaos Brand Knowledge. They get some, and then they get some benefit from Mystic Touch. So 13% of their damage is attributed, you know, assuming it at a max sim to having all of these buffs, 13% of their damage. That is now increasing from 13 to 16%, whereas if you compare that to Moonkin, who's got 3% of their damage from Chaos Brand, 3% of their damage from Arcane Intellect, and then some amount from Sky Fury, that specialization balance druid is only going to pay a 7.5% DPS penalty, meaning that they're more flexible in seasons that the specialization is good compared to the feral druid, where now it requires them to be even more overpowered to play with specializations or classes like a mage or like a demon hunter. And so I think that is inherently incredibly problematic.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about class stacking, I agree 100% that I don't really think in raids.
I think class stacking is like a myth. Like I feel like it's
well. What I want to say though is that with mythic raiding guilds and like most guilds, I would say that's true, right? And that it's like things might change very slightly, but for the most part, like you would see roughly the same comps. It's possible though that the pug scene, if let's say they were to remove raid buffs entirely, right? There are a lot of people that play the game exclusively pugging, and so for example, like I imagine a world where like, okay, imagine BM Hunter is just like not only the best class, but also like, you know, pretty easy, right? Like I definitely imagine a world where like, bro, Jangbi pug raid, I'm starting a raid, I'm inviting 12 BM Hunters into my pug, and then we're going, right?
Okay,
like just
sure.
take 3 of the best healers and then 12 BM Hunters and then just go. Like I do think while it wouldn't really change guilds at all, I do think it's helpful for the pug scene. You know, like think about, I think one problem that they run into is like, okay, think about warlocks and raid, right? Warlocks have no 60-minute official raid buff, but their toolkit is like very, very good to the point where a pug is always going to want a warlock, right? You want to summon people, health stones are good, like, you know, warlock is just, you know,
wipe recovery. Wipe recovery is broken.
Wipe recovery is amazing, right? You want a warlock, right? And so like warlock has that sort of spot, but there are a lot of other classes that, you know, they feel artificially, you know, oh, we have to give monk this or we have to give demon hunters this or else people wouldn't bring them, because a lot of classes in the game don't, right? Like there's the meme about DK raid grip as a raid buff, right? But that's because you're comparing DK grip to, you know, Mark of the Wild, for example, which is like a ridiculous comparison. But like I feel like that's what they're trying to do, right? Like in a sense, that's what they say they're trying to do, is like make every class feel like you have to bring at least one of them. But you're comparing like wildly different tools, you know, comparing Mark of the Wild to grip to Warlock Gateway and wipe recovery and stuff. Like it is just so hard to figure this out and like make this work that I don't know. I mean, they just seem so dead set on it. Like this is a topic that's been like really, really discussed, and they are just not. And then they're going, the strange part, right, is like they reduce the power of raid. They reduce the power of Vengeance Demon Hunter and or not Vengeance, sorry, just Demon Hunter raid buff and Mage, right? And those were like generally seen as good changes. Maybe it's just because those classes were strong in Mythic Plus for so long, and they still are. But they like that was generally seen as a good change. Like people like that, right? So it seems weird that they're now going in the reverse direction with other raid buffs. And yeah, again, to me, it just really feels like this is we want people like. I feel like caster classes have just dominated Mythic Plus for so long now, to the point where, in my opinion, melee comp right now is better for pugging and easier. Like, I feel like if you're pugging right now, you should invite a bunch of random melee classes and just zug through the dungeon.
But this makes
instead
it worse.
Of trying to play Boomkin.
I mean, this makes
but people still don't play it though. Everyone's still trying to play Boomkin, DK,
sure,
you know, whatever, right? And I feel like this is This is like Blizzard just constantly just I don't know. I feel like it's them trying to get more physical classes into Mythic Plus again.
This only benefits monk players though. This actively is harmful for the full physical damage dealers like the warriors, the feral druids, the
Right. Well, holistically, right? Like in the sense of it, okay, well they're just getting a 3% damage buff, right? So in theory, depending on what Blizzard does, but yeah, the expectation is that it's going to be worse overall, right? The best example
Yeah.
is okay, let's say you have a class that is 2%, like it's the best class but only by 1 or 2%, right? Well, what happens if that class is good with haste is it gets PI. So now that class is always getting PI. Also, the better players are gravitating towards that class. And so you end up having a class that's on technically only 1 or 2% better, but if you look at the logs, it looks like it's 10% better. And what happens, or what has happened historically, is sometimes those classes get nerfed. Whereas, like, this class wasn't even that good, but because it was the center of attention and it looked really good, and then it got nerfed. And that's kind of the expectation here with physical classes is like, well, you're going to get all these buffs, and it's not like you're just going to sit there doing, 8% more damage than every other class of your physical class. No, Blizzard is going to look at that and they're going to nerf your class. So then you're back in line with every other class, right? But then if you happen to be pugging or whatever and you don't have a monk raid buff, now it's beans for you. Like now you're doing 92% of your actual what your damage is supposed to be, and that's going to I think feel really bad, especially when it comes to people that just want to game with their friends. Like it's one thing if you just pug, right? Because you can kind of just like pick whatever classes. I don't really think the raid buff situation changes pugs too much. But if you're trying to game with your buds, right? Like if you're an arcane mage and you have a bud who's a feral druid,
Yeah.
this feels pretty dang bad now for you in keys, right? Like what do you do in keys? Like you just have some scuffed comp probably, right? Like either your feral druid buddy doesn't get his 8%, or you have some group where your mage you just have a mage and it doesn't fit in. And at the end of the day, is that terrible? No, like it's not really that big of a deal. Is that going to hold you back in keys? Not really, but it just feels bad, right? It's just like you're looking at your damage as a mage and you're like, oh, I don't have Demon Hunter buff, I don't have Mark of the Wild, like I'm just doing less damage than I feel like I should be doing.
I think they should try to make the buffs the smallest number possible while still making them required in raid. Also, give DK a raid buff, please. Like, come on. Like, this grip as a raid buff thing is actually so boring because if the purpose of raid buffs are to make sure that every single class is represented, it's different whenever DK is required on 2 bosses versus the druid being required on 8. That is not the same thing. Like that, it's not a raid buff at that point.
I personally just don't like the idea that you need to bring one to fill a slot. If we're gonna do raid buffs, let's do it like a more interesting way. Like you can make it so that certain abilities apply a vuln on the target for a couple seconds, but you don't use it all the time. Like,
Yeah.
you debuff you like it's a 10, on Star Surge, you debuff the target to make it take 3% more damage for 5 seconds.
Okay.
And so like you are helping your your group do a little bit more crit, but only when you Star Surge, which isn't 100% uptime. It's just kind of like small stuff like that. I think is more like being active is more interesting than I brought a Demon Hunter. My entire group is more powerful now.
So, dude, all right. I was cooking on this a little. Let me know your thoughts on this squishy, particularly related towards raid. I feel like they could remove raid buffs, and it would be kind of close in terms of utility parity as it currently stands. So, if just all raid buffs were completely removed, you have some classes like Druid, Shaman, and Evoker that give some form of a movement speed buff, whether it be Windrush Totem, Stamp Roar, Time Spiral, those kind of things. Then you have some classes that give defensive value, where you have DK, Demon Hunter giving Barrier or AMZ, Darkness. You have Rallying Cry from Warriors, and then you have some classes that have immunities like Paladins, Mages, Hunters, Rogues. If immunities were more usable, I mean, the only classes that don't really have much are like monks, which you could give monk like a group movement speed buff, and then priests, and then I don't know, priests could have mass or powered barrier or something. That doesn't really matter. But then at that point, they all kind of bring something like you're saying, something to the table, and they're all kind of interchangeable with one another more or less. And like I feel like that would surely feel better than this stupid raid buff, right? Like that has to be better in that case, where you could, a demon hunter is just as good as a DK, is just as good as a warrior for all intents and purposes. Not for every single thing. They're different abilities, but it's close enough, right?
I mean, people are going to optimize the fun of it no matter what they do.
I mean,
The o- the
okay,
o-
but like you can't prevent that. You're not going to prevent that.
And you're not gonna prevent that, except unless specifically you remove any kind of optimization needed to kill the boss, other than like coordination. But that's a pretty big shift in the game.
I
So
don't know. I just feel like it's an M plus change. Like based off the numbers, it's not like people are skipping out on monks, right? Like I think it's pretty universal that you want to have a monk in your group when you're raiding. And so the only explanation then is it's for M plus. The only thing I can think of
Yeah.
that is interesting is that traditionally the way off meta specs work is okay, we're talking about M plus. You have if there's an off meta, it's usually like one off meta guy and then 4 meta specs, right? Like it's usually like,
yeah,
oh, you replace the worst meta spec, or like you have a group like Ellismir's group, for example, with the 4 meta groups, but then you have a really good healer that plays a different healer, right? Traditionally, that's always how it's been. And this season, of kind of strange thing emerged where there's all of a sudden a completely different group of 5 different classes that all play together. And part of the reason that has worked is because obviously balance is good, but also because they all buff each other in that unique way, right? You get Wind
Yep.
Fury from the Shaman, the physical buff. Maybe they see this sort of like, I worry because I don't necessarily like this line of thinking, but maybe they just see this as well. This is what we did this, and now there's 10 classes or 11 classes that feel like they're meta when generally it was like only 5. And maybe they're doubling down on this idea that you build together a group of people that buff each other so that there are literally, you don't want to intermingle. Like there is 2 full like meta groups or whatever, or 2 different ways that people play. Like they want you to say, okay, we're all physical or all magic, and you don't necessarily mix them because that puts more specs in the spotlight.
Yeah.
Again, I don't like that, right? Like I see
mean,
Ted, the look on Tettles' face. He's like, ugh,
Yeah, but a 15% damage different. It's hard to be 15%
right?
better. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
gross,
impossible.
right? For someone who just wants to game with their buds, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel good it feels it like in theory you look at the numbers and you're like, oh, this is great, more classes are playing, but in reality it's sort of just as restrictive as it was, right? If you're a feral druid, it's not like, oh, there's 9 classes you can play with. You're literally only playing with a phys comp. Like if you get into a meta spec group, it's because they misclicked and they thought you were balanced. Like there's not like a more diverse situation for feral druids now. It's still okay, but I guess more classes feel like they have a comp. I don't know. I'm interested. I don't think it'll be that big of a deal, but I do agree that holistically it feels like it's not good for the game to do something like this.
Like for me,
I'm curious if it does anything. Honestly, it could just be placebo.
It could be placebo.
Because I don't know how
I
much.
really feel like they just want physical classes to be good. Like I genuinely think this is them looking at the meta and thinking, oh, everyone's played casters for so long. Let's just keep buffing physical stuff until physical is the best comp. And that's just what they're doing.
Dude, just make warrior broken. Make Prot the best tank and make Fury do big fucking damn. And
Isn't the issue with Fury for the longest time that the Warriors haven't they been saying the issue is their target cap? Like they're capped at 5.
It was good. It was good in War Within Season 1, and then they nerfed it because it was too good in Raid. Like it was gonna be. It can be the best spec in Mythic Plus while being target capped. We've seen that before. It doesn't help them if they're balanced well and then they're target capped on top of that. Yes, that's why they suck. But
isn't it specifically? I could be wrong on this. Let me look it up. But isn't it that they're hard target cap, not like soft?
Oh, they're hard capped at 5. Yeah, they're hard capped at 5.
Yeah, so like if there is more than 5, instead of spreading the damage out equally across all targets, they are doing damage to exactly 5 targets unevenly, and it's like, huh.
Well, they could again. This game is not the most balanced sometimes. They could still be good, right? Like there's nothing preventing Blizzard from just buffing them to the moon today, and then just being absolute god tier on 5 targets. Slightly less good on 10. They were again in War Within Season 1. I think that DPS Warrior Fury particularly was one of the top probably 5 or 10 specs, which not the best, but it was like one of the top 5 or 10 specs. And then Blizzard saw how well they were doing on Ansarek and Brute Twister Ovanax, and they were like, "Huh, that's too good." And then they got it.
Speaking of tuning, I'm just gonna do my cool stuff we've seen right now because this is relevant. Pull up my clip.
Where is it?
Is there a Boomkin involved?
I put it in
hope there
the.
isn't a Boomkin.
I put it in the chat. It was also in the thing. Sorry, I deleted it.
Oh, it's 3 Boomkins.
Oh. 3 Boomkins. I don't like this.
So this is the a very big pull out of 14 Tazavesh Solia's Gambit. There were 3 Boomkins in the group, and for those of you who don't know, Boomkin has an insane amount of funnel right now. So this boss dies in, let's see here, it's 18 seconds. The boss at 30% on a plus 14 streets. Give it a few more seconds here, and 27, 29, 30 seconds to do a plus 14 boss. Tettles?
I'm guilty, Your Honor.
Okay.
Boomkin is absolutely broken.
I mean, look at this
right now.
Look at this clip. I mean, if you guys are watching, basically it is so what you can do is you can build, basically how it works, it's the 4 set. It's 100% the 4 set, and it's based on how much damage you did during your incarn. Then your next 2 star surges are able to deal with damage based on a percentage of that, which is fantastic, right? Moonkin single targets fucking sucked for a long time. Except it's Blizzard hasn't tuned tier sets at all, and so there's a bunch of classes that are kind of like this. And Moonkin is one of the best. And with how those empowered star surges work, it allows you to basically just like one-shot specific mobs. And I committed 2 incarns to a mini boss in Streets and one-shot the mini boss basically by myself. It's also a really I wouldn't say unfun. I think it's actually quite fun. It's really cringe how you have to play it, because you have to actually go bear form in the middle of your cooldown. So I hope they fix that. But Blizzard hasn't basically tuned anything. It's so funny because Moonkin is doing stupid shit like this, and I don't even think balance is like the best spec in the game right now. Like I know this might sound insane. Beats Mastery Hunter is egregious. Like there are so many specs that are really overtuned right now. I don't think that Blizzard's done like a tuning pass on anything.
They have 3 weeks until the patch goes live, 4 weeks until the raid goes live. Again, and this is worse tier tuning than the current one, current season.
Not even like you see me just delete that Bob. The spec is broken. Like if this thing launched today, this is the most broken spec I've ever seen. Except somehow there's a spec that does more damage than it. Like what is going on?
We thought Venthyr Boomkin was bad. Like this is worse.
Well, this is easier to play around than that.
It's
BM
still
Hunter
not
is
good.
pretty bad. BM Hunter is pretty bad. My good friend Terathal took a little bit of break from the game, and he just came back to the game, and he was like, "Hey, what's good on PTR?" And we're like, "Yeah, BM Hunter is pretty OP. Maybe make that." So he makes a BM Hunter. He invites me. I'm playing my mage, and his BM Hunter is approximately 16 seconds old. It's literally a baby out of the womb, and he's just completely destroying my DPS in halls. And then he boots up his stream so someone else in Discord can watch. And he's literally pressing 2 buttons. Like it's literally like a 1-button rotation.
I mean, we're talking. I mean, yeah, you talk about Moonkin here. This is egregious. Being able to one-shot bosses like this is absolutely absurd.
Oh yeah, Moonkin is also busted. I was playing with Supreme, who's like playing Moonkin this season, and that guy was the stuff that he did in this dungeon. He basically like the menagerie, or not the 3 boss thing or whatever in Streets that has the damage buff. He literally got the suck thing that sucks up the orbs to get the damage buff, got his damage buff, popped his incarn, and just literally instantaneously killed the boss. Like I thought the boss despawned. Like I genuinely was trying to figure out what happened to the boss. Like I didn't, and then I look at the damage meters, and he's doing more than double my damage on the boss.
The issue isn't Moonkin specifically. The issue is that there has to be 7 specs that are just turbo broken, and it's all tier set based. It's Beast Mastery Hunter. I think it's Dire.
Pack leader?
I think it's the pack leader. I think it's pack leader Beast Mastery. Keeper of the Grove Moonkin. The Shadow Priest one's like Void Weaver Shadow Priest. One of the arcane.
Frostfire is really good, right?
Yeah, one of the arcane mages. I don't know which one of the arcane mages is broken.
I don't know.
Frostfire Arcane is good right now.
Okay,
they've also, from what I've understand, at least from what I've read briefly, it has gotten
Frostfire Arcane.
I think it's Spellslinger.
Sorry, Spellslinger Arcane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Frostfire Arcane.
I was
Sorry,
like, wait a minute.
Honestly, I don't know what any of the hero talents are, what they do. I just copy people's builds.
There's like Aldrachi, Reaver, Havoc, Demon Hunter. Dude, there's literally there has to be like 7, 8, 9 specs that are just criminally broken. Enhancement Shaman, Stormbringer Enhance, and the only one that the DK, what is it? Deathbringer DK. All of them are just
wave one, the scythe.
The scythe one, yes.
Yeah.
Dude, they're all just so terminally broken. They haven't tuned any specs yet. Like this.
I think the problem that I have with this tier set, specifically the Boomkin one, is it scales so vastly differently between groups. Like you can't tune something that is like going to be different, because if you're pulling a boss solo, that tier set is not nearly as broken. But if you're pulling it like an MDI where you have a bunch of funnel, like it's going to be absolutely disgusting. How do you tune that between the upper end and the lower end? And I think the only way is to like track like how much damage you're doing individually on each target, and that's the funnel. But that's weird and like gets complicated.
I expect Moonkin to get gutted. Like I don't expect this to.
Yeah.
I expected Moonkin to get gutted this week during the PTR, but I was shocked that it didn't get a change. I expect the tier set to get like reworked more than anything else, which is sad because it's actually fun. Aside from the cringe shit where you have to go bear. Okay, side note.
Why do you go bear form?
Okay, yeah. I wanted to explain this. So hold on, let me pull back up. So basically, you go bear form. The TLDR is because the banked damage. There's a cap on the banked damage, but it's based on your maximum HP.
Yeah, so you basically hit cap, and then you go bear form while your starfalls are running, and just build up the damage cap even higher.
You don't build up the damage cap. You go bear form the second before the Dryad despawns, giving you the damage amp. So like, in this clip.
I see.
So I press my end card here. The Dryad's out. It despawns in 7 seconds, and so I've pulled these star surges from the pull before this. So you see this buff right here. I pulled the Star Surges on the pull before this. I press my Incarn. I press all of my damage amp abilities. I'm using double on-use Trinket because this is the meta of how you play this shit. I press Heart of the Wild so I can have more stamina in bear form. I dump these 2 empowered Star Surges, and so I've hit the cap. Like you can see right here, I have multiple weaknesses actually. So I've hit the cap on where this damage is, and it's in red. And so the cap based on my current HP is like 140 mil. But I have 800 mil damage banked, and so I have to go bear form to get my Star Surges bigger.
Dude, this is fucking demo Warlock with Rally. Holy fucking
actually
shit.
Rally for me.
You're gonna be calling for Rally as a mood kid.
Dude, do you remember that? Demo Warlock, we used to rally for them.
Yes, I do. Like it is. Also my tier set doesn't even work. The Dryad's supposed to shoot abilities, and it doesn't shoot any of them. Like this shit is so broken. Like it's supposed to actually do damage. It doesn't do any damage. Like it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be even more powerful, yet I'm not.
Wait, does it work with Shaman Healer too? The AV buff that gives you 10% max HP. Wait a second.
Yeah, yeah.
That's sick. That's like 10%.
I don't know, man.
Actually.
I'm Heart of the Wild, so I could get 20% more stamina and bear form and shit.
PTR is a wild place right now. Honestly, like part of me hopes that okay, this is the last season. If they could somehow get it to a place where there's like, I don't know, like you say that so many of these classes seem OP. Like, is it really that bad? Like, if that many like, I feel like it could be fun, right?
They're like playing a they're doing like next expansion damage.
I mean, some of them are ridiculous, but like, I don't know. I guess some things are like genuinely. I don't like. I get annoyed playing with Moonkin on PTR because as an arcane mage, right, or as pretty much every mage spec, you kind of want to have like a prio target that you're hitting off of and you're cleaving off of. There'll be times when I'll press surge and then the mob will just die. Like it'll just. There was a time on PTR where I generally I look at the mob's HP and I decide whether or not I should pop CDs, right? So we start a poll. There's a mob that has 500 million health, and I'm like, okay, usually my threshold is about 300 mil is when I should pop CDs. So I press Evocate, I press Arcane Missiles, I press Lightning Surge. The Lightning Surge fizzles. It's not like the mob died like during my touch. The Surge cast didn't even get off. The Moonkin literally killed it in 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, what is this?
I think that class balance is... So we are, what did you say, 3 weeks away?
Yeah.
3 weeks in the patch.
Dude, we are so close, and there are 8 Moonkins, right? Like, not even, there are 8 specs that are similar power to that, doing next patch worth of damages. It is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I think there are a bunch of specs that are doing it, and it's not even that Moonkin is good. I've done keys with Elun's Chosen Balance Druid, and it sucks. The spec is awful. It's literally just Keeper of the Grove tier. That's the only thing that's even good.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but every single patch this expansion has been such a mess, and I'm like very much not expecting this to be any different.
It's so weird because the dungeons, we tested the dungeons this week. Sure, the dungeons can be rough around the edges in some areas. I mean, we're going to talk about Tazvesh and Halls of Atonement in a little bit. Sure, they can be rough around the edges in some areas. They're not that bad. We did raid testing. All of the bosses were complete. Like, sure, they weren't really tuned well, but it's easy to put, 500, we're talking like, oh yeah, okay, this boss needs 2 billion more HP, and the abilities need to hit a little bit harder. That's easier than having non-functional bosses. This is like, all the classes are broken, but all the content is complete.
Yeah, it's a mess. I don't expect it to be any worse or any better than last time, just because I don't know how they're gonna, like, they're cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, they are awesome. They're very flavorful. They're very cool. They build among, alongside the things that you've been doing the entire tier. But god damn it, it's not looking good.
I like the idea. I think the idea of all of these hero talent based tier sets is like the correct way of approaching hero talents, and it's the correct way that I like how tier sets feel. I like it when tier sets impact my kit and they play alongside what my main goals are on whatever specialization I'm playing. That's why I like tier sets. That's why I don't like whenever they're super bland, because it doesn't really feel like it's doing anything. Oh, 10% Star Surge damage. Who cares about that? Whenever it's actually making some tangible difference, that's cool.
Yep.
Not having them tuned is not cool.
I think one of the biggest things is they were very much up against the clock here, because they released the PTR so late into the cycle this time around. Like, they normally release the PTR earlier, I swear. And that gives them time to fix stuff before it goes live. Because even the last tier, when they had more time, the tier set tuning continued a month into the season, I swear. I remember they had to nerf old tier, buff new tier, because it was just so bad. The Havoc and the Dev Evoker ones were not DPS increases for so long. And it took them almost a month to do that.
I mean, I
so
remember
like, now that
Shadow was like a 25% damage gain, Beast Mastery Hunter was
Beast
like
Mastery.
a 25%. I think that these tier sets right now are 2x. I don't know if it's 2x, but it's at least 50%.
I mean, for Mood Kid, it's like hundreds, like at least 10 times damage on burst, right? Like,
I plead the fifth, Your Honor. I will not
typical Moonkin.
I will not speak further about how powerful Balance Druid is. But yeah, I mean, I don't even think Venthyr holds a candle to this. This is nothing like Venthyr. Venthyr was like a 30 global perfect rotation. This is like Star Surge and take 10 like noticeable chunks out of mobs.
Bang! Every time you hit one of those Star Surges, it's crazy.
You know what's crazy? The craziest shit is Hopeful was keeping up with me in terms of overall DPS.
Yeah, I feel like I have something wrong with Mage right now, because I've not been able to keep up with these other classes.
I don't know, dude. Okay, Hopeful is a much better player than I am. Like,
yeah, he's about as good as me, though. That's why I think I have something wrong.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. A little bit crazy. Do we want to talk about the dungeons and the raid testing a little bit?
We can do it briefly.
Yeah.
Give everyone a PTR update.
Let's start with the raid testing. What did you guys think about the bosses that we saw?
So I did raid testing. It was like basically
all 7 bosses, right? They tested all 7
yeah,
bosses.
it was all 7. There was 2 different days. The first day was the first 3. The second day was the next 4. I raid tested with like half guild and then half just like random community members and stuff that were looking for people to play with. Overall, the theme of the raid is definitely a theme. Everything is very, very, very purple. I think it's okay. I don't know. In terms of the bosses, I felt like they were a little undertuned. I think we did a little bit too well for how we should have. I think the first 3 bosses we basically killed, if I remember, and then we even killed some of the bosses on the second day. I actually really like the Tetris boss, Fractilius or whatever. Basically, the way the boss works is there's these 6 columns, and it throws walls at people, and you kind of got to like get out of the raid and then put them in a column. But at the same time, the column gets too big, then your raid wipes. Unfortunately, I fear that there's going to be a super mega liquid weak aura that tells you exactly where to put every wall, and you just turn your brain off.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
when we were doing it on PTR, we just did it with no weak auras, and we were just like winging it and coming up with a strategy, and it was like actually very fulfilling. And we basically like by the end, like the very last poll, we managed to like get everything figured out, and we killed the boss, and it was like pretty fun. But I mean, I would say that's undertuned for its position in the raid. The fact that we could kill it in 1 hour. But I thought it was a really cool idea. I hope that it's not a weak aura boss, but it
is
will be.
100% a weak aura boss. Yes.
It is the biggest weak aura boss in the world of weak aura bosses. Unfortunately, my thought on it is, I mean, they were definitely undertuned, but I'd rather undertuned raid testing so you can see all the fights in
Yep.
terms of giving devs feedback than it being overtuned. One of the things that I'm having trouble with is the first 6 bosses don't seem mechanically complex. And now they could overtune something like Rick Reaver, and it will be hard and people will get walled on it, but I don't think that's fun. I think people would rather get walled on like a mechanical dance or something that like a coordination issue
Yeah, sure.
that I think would be much more interesting to people than having the issue of we just don't have enough damage or gear.
I mean, what do you think about the penultimate fight then? That's clearly not a damage check. That's
this is a pure. I think that this is going to be a very big issue for guilds in a good way. It is a
fuck
cool boss.
Okay,
this boss is completely out of control. I mean, this is like, for anybody who hasn't seen this boss, it's reminiscent a little bit of Tindril in that there's like these giant platforms, and you're like going from platform to platform during the intermissions. There's like ghost dragons and claws flying everywhere, and
you
there's
made
just
it
so
to an
much
intermission
stuff going on. I don't. Well, we did heroic testing of this too.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen past the first.
Yeah,
I don't know, 45 seconds of this fight.
Have you not seen the intermission?
No, I didn't do this
Oh
during
my God,
heroic
I haven't-
or
I-
normal.
yeah.
Hold it.
Tettles was gone during the
Okay,
first testing.
But
To put it into perspective, I want to say, was it ID, one of the better guilds that was public testing, basically just started running 4 tanks because the initial, like, the tank mechanic thing that you had to deal with was like that tough, from what I understand. That there was, I don't know if it was ID,
on
it
this
could have been
fight?
another guild.
Yeah.
There was a guild literally running 4 tanks just to like be able to live.
I was raid testing with DMG, and they have very good tanks. One of them, his name is Jared. He was playing a Brewmaster Monk, and he was just getting shit on by this boss.
Yeah, there was I mentioned this in the heroic raid testing, but it was a funny comment that we had a pug tank during it, and he was like struggling a little bit, and I was like trying to figure out what was going on to help him, and then I realized the tank was Monksy, like the Omega Brewmaster guy in
Porcy?
EU.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, wait, what? Like, actually, this must be insane then, because that guy is so good.
Yeah, that's This fight is insane. So basically, it has projectiles that mind control people, and there has to be 100 of them at any given point. And then you also get mind controlled if you get killed off by any incidental damage. This fight, it was genuinely the hardest fight I've ever done during PTR testing ever. It was. I thought that Silken Court during PTR testing, I didn't have a grasp as to what was going on. This was by far the hardest boss I've ever tested during PTR testing. Like, okay. I don't know what is going on with this boss.
I have a clip. Here we go. So this is the intermission. And the thing that I want to say is, this is the first of a very cool set of mechanics where, if you can't see, basically there's just 6 lasers and they just fire in different directions and move all over the place. And you have to do this dance. Granted, it's not
dance?
hard. Yes, it's not hard. So there was one bug where it would target a player for some reason. But so if you go back to the start here, like the first one is telling you outside safe because all the lasers are pointed in the middle. This one is telling you outside not safe, and you go to the middle. Like visually, it is complex, but when you boil down to it, it's actually a very simple mechanic, but it looks cool as hell. And I love that about this raid.
I think this
the
raid
first,
is sweet. Yeah.
like one of the things that I will like have criticized WoW with in the past is their encounters just aren't like have that cool factor to other, like if you look at like a Final Fantasy Ultimate boss, there's like things that are like, whoa, that's weird, that's cool, that's interesting. This is that boss for sure, alongside some other stuff like teleporting through a wall that's coming down the side and stuff like that. But like just a giant laser pattern, which isn't that hard, it just looks complex and looks cool. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah. I think this entire raid is actually incredibly sweet. From the PTR testing I've done on it. Obviously, PTR testing isn't relative to what the play experience is going to be. Like Growl said, everything was relatively undertuned. Squishy mentioned that everything didn't feel like it had a bunch of mechanics. I think that's hard to really. I think that's hard to really assign whether or not that's going to be a problem until later on. I think that we've been going in the direction where raids have been too hard for too long, and if this is like like the beginning of the new era where we kind of Liberation of Undermine kind of started this trend where raids become a little bit easier, I don't think that's a problem.
I agree. I mean, I'm not like I'm just pointing that out, but I think this is like, I will say, other than Fractilis, I don't think any other boss needed a weak aura here. The mechanics are very simple. It's like
I agree.
2 groups. Like,
okay, that Demon Hunter Council fight was a bit bullshit.
Yeah, okay, that was, so I was going to point that out as well. I think that most of the fights seem reasonable. The Demon Hunter fight was out of control. That was there was just too much stuff going on. Like, I get what they were trying to go for here. Like, it was cool that it was like, oh, there's a bunch of Demon Hunters attacking your raid or whatever. But like, they commented that a lot of the things in this expansion have been like bullet hell kind of thing, where there's like way too many swirlies and movement. And this was like crazy with that, because not only is there so many swirlies and like soaks you have to do, but also there's the puddles, right, where you have to, like, this debuff is bouncing around, and like very often you might be in a situation where you get a debuff and you don't want to, but you have to go soak these puddles. And
yeah,
there was, like,
if you get
there was so much movement going on in this fight. And then on top of that, the intermission where it's like sucking you in and you're chained to people, and it's like movement felt very restrictive.
The chain to people thing I actually thought was cool. It was the most of the everything else about this mechanic or this fight I thought was like insane.
As a mage, I don't like being chained to people.
Slowed by Sigil of Chains. I understand that they have a slow on Sigil of Chains. It did not need to exist on this fight. I think that the getting in the soak part, where you also, so the hunt soak circles, or the hunt soak, they put circles on all the players, and if you're too close to somebody else, you just one-shot one another. That didn't feel like that needed to be a mechanic where you weren't allowed to be stacked. That felt ridiculous. Everything else about this fight felt it was visually a lot of clutter, is what I will also say about it.
Yes. I will say, you said Fractilius is a weak aura boss, but it will be, because it makes it easier. But I would describe that as like, that was very fun to play Natty. Like, I would not say that needs to be a weak aura boss at all, right?
I don't think it needs to be a weak aura boss. I think it makes it 10 times easier to play.
I think
let me clarify what Tettles is trying to say. If there is a relevant DPS check, which there wasn't on the PTR, you will 100% want to weak aura, because you want to take your mind off where do I need to go and put it into your, put that thought into your rotation.
I got killed off by a bunch of the tank buster walls.
Triple walls, yeah.
Yeah, I got killed off by the tank buster wall a few times. If I just had a thing in the middle of my screen that said "Moon not safe," "Moon safe," go to star, like, that takes it from a fight where you actually have to think about what you're doing, and it makes it completely trivial.
Yeah, but like, my point, like, I don't know. I don't, like, okay, when I think of a weak aura boss, I think of something that you have to use a weak aura. That, like, if you don't have a weak aura, you're like, how the hell do we solve this, right?
Oh, it's not.
But for instance, in that one, right, the way that we did is, like, we had a Drogo who's our raid leader. He was like generally watching where the tank should put his, and then also the tank would communicate, right? And we would have we'd had a couple markers down in the middle, and we'd be like, Drogo would be like, okay, make sure you get one on the left side, and then the tank would be like, okay, I'm on X is going to be unsafe, raid, move over, and then, so we were doing that, but we were like, not using a weak aura, right? We were communicating it. My point is that, like, I don't want to argue it because 100% there's just going to be some Omega liquid weak aura that everybody uses, but I don't think it was necessary at all for the fight, unless, like Squishy said, it ends up being some crazy tune DPS check. But also, like, I don't know, it was the only mechanic of the fight, right? Like, there was living, and then there was putting the lines, right? So I don't think it was that much mental process about where to, like, one thing, for example, right, is like, if you're a class that has high mobility, like me as a mage, I would just go very, very far every time, right? Like, I'd instantly blink to the furthest one and then lock it in so that people know where I'm at, right? And it was like, I don't know, I feel like you can, it didn't need to be a weak aura boss, but it's gonna be. But I like that design. To follow up, there's been a lot of comments and feedback about Blizzard saying, like, well, why don't you make the raids easier and better and then remove our tools? Don't remove our tools first. And I think that boss, if they release it and it's just like a chill, like, not so many pull boss, that's a perfect example of a boss that's like, okay, well, if you use a weak aura, you make it a lot easier, but eventually we're going to remove the weak aura.
I mean, we don't know anything about Dimensius, and it's normally the final bosses of an the final bosses of a tier that are required in this.
Speaking of Boomkin being nerfed,
okay, great. Breaking news.
There was some class tuning on the PTR, and breaking news. If it looked distracted in the last little while, it's because we've been data mining some class tuning that's been happened. And lo and behold, Boomkin has been nerfed. So if you got to pull this up, yeah, I've just been working on this on the side while things have been happening. So apologies.
They do.
Yeah, so the big stuff here, if you just want to go through slowly, just scroll down to the tier set. That's the big stuff.
Tier set changes?
Yeah, they nerfed BM Hunter, they aura nerfed BM Hunter.
Where are the tier set? Is it at the very bottom?
Oh, the very bottom. Yep.
Okay.
There's some Warlock changes, but here you go. So Keeper the Grove, Druid, 3% funnel instead of 5%. And only 10% splash, down from 20%, as well as a new aura effect. We can't exactly see what that does. But
pool damage. Please don't have me go bear form again.
But also, as you mentioned, Pack Leader Hunter also getting a nerf. Because that was the OP one. As also you mentioned, Spellslinger for Mage also getting nerfed. Basically the things.
Master of Harmony buff, yeah.
So a lot of class changes, a lot of tier set tuning. You'll be able to see that tomorrow, or you'll already see this because it's live and stuff like that. So, and the last thing to mention is
whatever.
Mountain Thane Warrior tier set got reworked.
Oh yeah, was that the one that they buffed by 750% and it was still garbage?
Yeah. So overall, pretty good. Anything stick out to you there, Grell?
It looks like they've done some shifting around with the mage tier sets.
This is a huge nerf, by the way. Fueled by Violence was like all of Rot's healing right now, and they cut it in half. Looks like.
Well, keep in mind, we'll definitely have to be deciphering some of these notes. Like, I'm noticing they nerfed the mage tier set, but then they're also doing some changes to the damage of some of the abilities. So like, I don't know if like right away it might appear like a nerf, but it might be them just moving around damage as well. But yeah, I'm seeing, nerfs to basically the classes we're talking about. I see a lot of Hunter notes, Boomkin notes, Mage, Frost, Fire, and Spellslinger, Arcane.
Gotta text the council 1 second.
Oh no.
The Council of the Chickens. I don't know. I think I think it's
good. I mean, it's to be expected. I think a lot of people worry or get very involved in the current state of the game, which maybe rightfully so, right? They're like, they want to see what's good and they want to know or whatever, but we're so far, like these are going to be many, many more patches like this of them doing tuning and stuff. Like we've been waiting for this.
There's still stuff that's on here that needs to get, I don't say needs, that I'm surprised didn't get nerfed, right? I think that, Stormbringer Enhance, Voidweaver Shadow, Eldrazi Reaver Havoc again, like the Frost DK. I didn't see exactly what they did to Frost at the very top of this. There's some stuff that I expected to see more of that I didn't really see in this. But again, it's the PTR. Like, I'm not shocked that not everything is being touched. The important part of this is that everything is close. It's not about like what is the best or what is the worst. It's about everything being close together once the patch actually comes out. And also, you don't really want your tier set to be 35% of your damage, because what if you don't get your tier set for 3 weeks? That shit sucks. So you want your tier set to only be probably around like 15%, maybe 20% damage increase at the most, because otherwise it just feels terrible whenever. But you know, the metas, like Growl said, a sentiment that I want to echo. The metas on the PTR shift all the time. 8% aura buff to Assassination Rogue.
Yes. Oh, look, there are the official development notes now.
What a spec.
Oh boy.
Here, you can read these.
Spec of all time.
Here you go.
36 seconds ago.
You could figure out exactly what they're doing.
Good. Great work. Oh, was now capped at 50 times base spell power. Was 50% of health. Yeah, great. Thank God. You can't
Is that the 4 set, not the 2 set?
Now, haters would say that they probably wrote the wrong thing here. Did they even know that it got nerfed? I'm over it.
I don't know either.
I don't know. They've I will say, I don't know if you've noticed this, Squishy, there has been a lot of stuff that they haven't been noting in the patch notes.
Yeah, the patch notes. It feels like they're again doing this very last minute, where they're doing a couple last minute pushes that just don't get out of the notes.
Yeah, which again, it's fine. It's just
yeah, it's a little annoying as a tester, but to be fair, it is the PTR, right? Like it's not like it's one thing if they're doing that on live, but if they're doing it on PTR, like they're, you know, it's kind of what they're supposed to do.
All right, Squishy's only got 40 more minutes, and we had a couple of other things that we wanted to discuss. We'll talk about the dungeons next week. It's not that big of a deal. What did you want to fill with this last 30 minutes? What did you have?
That was it.
Oh, okay. You had this. Never mind. Okay, perfect. All right, we'll talk about the dungeons next week. I have a new topic that I want to present to you guys. Give me 1 second to get this filled. Give it. How's your week been, Growl?
It's been all right. It's been a little quiet. I've been messing around the PTR a little bit. Unfortunately, might have to dust off the mage on live and do a few more keys. I've actually haven't really found a game that I've stuck with. I really haven't been playing that many games. I've honestly been binging YouTube cooking videos, and I've been cooking a lot lately.
Oh hell yeah,
cooking.
Yeah, just you know, like you watch a YouTube video or you see like a short or whatever, and it's like it looks like a cool recipe, but you're never gonna try it. I've just been like sending it. I just literally will just, you know, order groceries for one meal, like get it set up, cook it. Me and my roommate will try it. I don't know, some stuff has been pretty good. It's been fun. It's been nice getting in the kitchen a little bit more. I've been quite lazy lately.
While you're setting up, by the way, they announced in the dev notes, Valor Stones are no longer reset at the start of every season.
Really?
That's good. It made no sense.
Okay, can
they
raise hear me out. Raise the cap to 5K.
I don't think they'll do that.
Hear me out. Delete Valor Stones.
I don't think they're gonna do that. I'm just trying to barter with them a little bit. All right. This is a new segment that I'd like to call "Whose Foot Is That?" where we take a look at some of the iconic bosses in dungeons and raids, and we try to identify whose foot truly is that. It's inspired by somebody down in the comment sections of the last video. I probably should have pulled up their name, but inspired by the comments of somebody in the last bench episode. We're going to take a look at some feet from bosses. Your job is to tell me what boss this is. I do have some hints. I have expansion hint is the first one, and then I have the raid that it's from as the second hint, if you guys need hints. Okay. Starting off something easy. Whose foot is that?
I think I know.
You think you know?
We'll let Growl go first. Do I know? I might not know.
Shoot. I'm trying to remember the name. Why can't I remember? I feel like I forgot the name of this boss last podcast. Is it the last boss of Dawnbreaker?
You guys are working on a team basically together.
Oh, okay. We're working.
I was thinking it was Silken Court. It's definitely one of those Nerubian guys.
To me, the ground are they dungeon bosses or raid bosses?
They tend to be raid bosses, but they can be either.
Okay,
one.
They're raid bosses. Yeah, I was gonna say the ground looks like the boat from Dawnbreaker.
They can be either one. They tend to be raid bosses though.
It could. I do agree with. So, which one is that though? What's the tall one?
The other one.
Oh.
I think.
The hot dog or the hamburger?
You could be right. I'm just trying to remember the ground of that boss room, and I don't think the ground looks like it.
You might be you might be right there. I definitely think it's a Nerubian.
But I don't think he would take the foot of Dawnbreaker. So I think you might be right. That's why I think you're right, because I don't think he would do it. Even though that is technically a raid boss because it goes in the raid, I don't think this is that boss in the raid. I think you might be
Like,
right. I think it's the.
I'm second guessing. My initial thought was it's the fatter one on Silken Court.
Oh, the hamburger.
Is that what you
Hamburger.
call it?
Yeah. You ever pulled paper
Okay.
hamburger and hot dog style? That guy's a hamburger. Anyway.
Why is the hot dog standing up?
Oh.
Okay.
You get it? I think you get it now. Anyway,
I agree with you.
Final answer.
I'm okay locking that in, but I think the background doesn't look like that from what I remember.
I agree with you, which is why I'm second guessing it right now. But I don't know what else it could be.
It was Rashidon.
Oh.
Oh,
Right.
it was Rashanon. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Different one. What do we think about this one? I can give you hints as well if you guys want them. Again, I have expansion and raid if you guys want multiple hints.
I initially thought it was Firelands, but to me it's Firelands or Smolderon. But I don't think it's Smolderon, and I have a feeling it's the fire. Is it the stupid turning boss in Cataclysm? That was my thought.
Growl, any thoughts?
Growl. No, I don't think it's the turning boss.
Growl's dead.
Oh, Growl's dead.
Growl.
Tech issues.
Oh my god, our game. We can wait for him to come back. I'll edit this. I'll edit this part probably. Maybe.
All right, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome back.
All right. Sorry.
What boss is this?
Yeah, I want to hear your initial thought. Did he see again?
No.
Okay.
He's just
pondering. ZC again. I want to say it's the. I don't remember what the name of that boss is.
I can give you the expansion it's from if you guys want it.
Is it Dragonflight?
No.
Oh.
It's not Smolderon. Okay, good. All right.
The expansion.
I think it's Fire. My thought was it's Firelands. It's either Rag or that turning boss, but I don't think it's that turning boss.
That would be really weird if it was Rag.
But I don't think it's Rylith.
The boss room doesn't look like Rylith at all.
I don't think so either, which is why I didn't think it's Rylith.
Yeah, especially with the spike thing. What expansion was it?
Cataclysm.
Oh, it was Cataclysm. Oh shoot.
Then I don't know what it would be other than Rag Leg.
I don't remember what Rag looks like, but I don't think that looks like him.
All right, we need a final answer.
Typically. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but like, kind of was so long ago, and I haven't played Classic.
All right, I'll give it to you guys. You guys danced around it enough. It's Rag. It's Rag Leg.
Oh, it is Rag.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, you should have given us the full image to see.
Oh, I should have. That would have been good.
Yeah. What is this grainy image?
Don't worry about that. Zoom on in.
Ooh, I think based off of the color scheme, this might be Legion, and you might need this one, Squishy.
I don't recognize this boss. I mean, it's probably humanoid. I mean,
the picture looks pixelated, but the art looks newer, right? Like I don't think this is an old school boss.
My initial thought was Wad, but in Hellfire Citadel. But I don't think of a boss in Hellfire Citadel that's sitting next to a fell lake.
You want the expansions it's from?
Sure.
This is Warlords or Draenor.
Ooh. I don't know that
hell
much.
of a guess.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the raids in Warlords or Draenor. Is Hellfire Citadel. What were the fucking raids in that expansion? It was Gruul's? Oh, no, it was Blackrock Foundry, right? That was WoD. Yeah, Blackrock Foundry. Who had Gruul in it, and I don't remember the middle raid.
You want the raid?
Sure.
It's Hellfire.
Okay.
you're,
Okay.
you're dancing around it. You can pull up like the
Yeah,
dungeon
I don't
journal if you want to
know.
look at the boss
I've-
names.
Is this the
I've def-
Hellfire Council?
Oh, Hellfire High
That's the
Council?
only- That's the only. I don't remember what else is in there. Because nothing else sticks out, and I don't think there's any other humanoid, so I'd go with Council. Oh.
It's a bird. It's Shadowlord Iskar.
Huh. I don't remember him sitting next to a fell thing.
They had there's Fellfire on that boss as part of his like beams. You remember that?
Ah.
What about this one?
Ooh, this. Oh, jeez.
That's some resolution.
Sniffer.
With the
Don't say
snowflake.
sniffer.
I do not know. This looks like another boss that is not in my memory bank.
I'll just come out and say Cataclysm.
Burning Crusade? Ooh, okay.
Ooh, Cataclysm.
Well, you played
Okay.
Cataclassic, right?
I have. I've only played the first tier though. Let me try and remember.
Do you want me to slam the raid already?
Oh, unless Grau has something.
No.
Dragon
Yeah,
Soul.
you might.
Oh, it's Hagara.
It is Hagara. It comes.
Another raid that I've mog farmed, but I don't had and it hasn't been in a long time.
Do you know which one this is?
Oh, okay.
Christian, do you know which one this is?
I think so. I think it's because you gave more than the foot. I don't recognize his foot, I don't think.
What else is given that you needed?
The middle part. Actually, I could be wrong on this, actually.
His taint? Okay, what do you think it is?
I think it's Manaroth.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, Manaroth. That's like one of the few bosses that I
okay.
know. Okay.
I honestly don't recognize his foot. I know his like general shape.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I know this one too.
Is this a Dragonflight boss?
No, it's the Legion
No.
boss.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this is this the fire Cenarian guy with the trees that you heal. I don't remember his name in Dragonflight. That's who I thought it was.
Wait, who?
You want to tell him what it was? You want to tell him who it is?
It's Cenarius, which is really funny that you said that.
The fire Cenarian guy. Dude, actually, just Squishy and I both at the exact same moment. Where he's like, "Holy shit, fire Cenarian guy."
You know the
Oh,
boss that I'm
okay.
talking about though, right?
DFD. Oh, yeah, in I don't remember his name. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, Grell. It's very similar. It was the fire guy, the fire druid guy. Yeah. All right. Well, I know this one. Surely Grell knows this one.
Dragonflight. I'll say it. Dragonflight. He's humming.
Yeah. So at first I wanted to send G Kun or whatever that bird's name is, but it's not that because of the platform. That's the boss that I got that I wasn't in on.
Let me see if I.
You want the raid, Growl?
It's like Razageth, right?
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Bang.
Yeah.
Work.
That was that's the platform. I think is what gave it away. I honestly thought I was gonna go G Kun because of the color
Kun.
scheme.
What do you think about this one?
I have a suspicion.
It
Grell.
looks like Nefarian.
I was gonna say Oni.
Oh, the ground does kind of look like Oni. I feel like it looks too good to be Oni.
Oni was back in BW something. Lair Council. I don't remember what that new raid was. It could be Nefarian.
I'll tell you this from vanilla.
Okay. Probably Oni then. Unless I'm missing another dragon.
Nefarian's room does not look like that in vanilla.
No.
It definitely looks most like Oni's room.
Yeah.
For some reason, the purple is kind of like throwing me off, though. But
can't
I don't
look
think I can't think of anything in BWL
Okay.
that.
It was Oni. Yay.
Yeah.
Tettles, you like looking at these feet a lot or something?
Listen, whose foot is that? This is not who you think this is. This is not.
Oh, I know. I know whose this is.
Okay.
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay, that's crazy that you're calling my ass out. Meanwhile, you already know who this is.
No, I don't know by the feet. I know by the garb. I'm pretty sure.
Who do you think it is?
Elisand.
Ding, ding, ding. Elisand. I'll have to pull up a picture.
It's the garb that gave it away. I don't know the fucking feet, man.
I love how I'm looking at everything else but the feet. The feet actually don't really help me that much.
You don't give shit.
Let's get about it. What on this guy? Sniffer.
Yeah, again, the feet don't help. The everything else helps a lot.
You don't think you would know just by his foot?
Every single raid boss to me just looks like it's from Dragonflight. But
This one is from Dragonflight.
Because it is from Dragonflight.
It is.
It's because this one is from Dragonflight, bro.
You probably wiped on it a lot.
It's from Avarice.
Is this the boss? Yeah, this is the boss I
Crucible.
got kicked from my guild from. Is this Rashok?
Yep.
It is.
Yep.
Rashok. All right, and that concludes. Whose foot is that anyway?
What a name. That was kind of fun though.
I knew that you would like it of all people.
Yeah.
Dude, I love trivia.
Actually, random spoiler, but just as a preview because I have the idea cooking around in my head. I know. Did we do one for Dragonflight, like an end of an expansion game show sort of thing? Did Squishy do that?
I don't think so.
No, I wanted to, but we just kind of ran out of time.
I think we did
Okay,
one for
well,
like Dragonflight
I
Season
have an
1.
idea. I have an idea for one that I want to put together for the end of this expansion for the bench. So
Sounds good.
we might try and get a guest on to compete against Tettles and Squishy. I just started cooking up the idea and jotting down some notes for it. But I saw someone else do it and I thought it was a really, really good idea. And I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay. Sure. I guess one more thing that I want to point out. We're going to talk about dungeons, but I want to hear your reaction to a couple changes in the dungeons coming forward here.
Ooh,
Are they
nice.
posted or are they?
No, we data mined them.
Okay.
So in Priory, they nerfed the Knight's Disrupting Shout
Great.
by like 17%. Still locks, in case you're wondering, Tettles, but just letting you know.
Yeah.
Yep, those guys still suck.
The explosion when the mages and footmen and Braunpike die was nerfed by like, what is that? I don't know how to do 28%.
Oh, that's not bad. Okay.
So pretty good. And then Hot Shot got nerfed by 20%.
Dude, this is crazy. Growl and I were literally talking about this last week. So basically, Blizzard made a lot of changes for you to want to go right in Priory of the Sacred Flame. And we literally talked about the reason that going right was so diabolical was because the Knights are still annoying. And there's so many sharpshooters on this side. Whereas on the other side, it's just a bunch of casters that you can just CC on. It's not like the world. The pot shot nerf makes that a far more compelling offer than.
Yeah, one thing I think I talk about so much the idea of like PhysComp being easier for pugs or whatever. I see this now gearing up to be a situation where honestly the right might be an easier path if you're just like not doing a super high key and you're not in comms or whatever because you just like fight the mobs and heal or whatever. And as long as you don't really overpull, you should be fine where you don't have to worry about so many kicks. But I still think that those damage nerfs don't seem big enough. Like I still think the overlaps with like pot shots and stuff will still kill you in a high key. And I think high key people might still go left, but this does make going right a lot more appealing, as Tettles mentioned.
Does this mini boss on the right side have to get pulled solo in a high key? Like, is his heat wave just do too
Basically,
much damage?
he's like really, really rough. I mean, maybe you could do like, I don't know, maybe like
Footman?
you could come up with something. Like the thing is there's like we're sitting on a whole season of people cooking on how to pull this dungeon, and people still aren't really sure. So there's definitely ways, like, CC an archer and then pull like 6 footies with one archer with the guy, like that might work or whatever. But
Yeah, okay.
But that's not all. They still want you to go right more because they're nerfing Elena during the boss encounter. Her AoE is doing like 8% less damage now.
She's if you go
well,
left.
that's if you go left, right? If it's during the
What?
boss encounter.
Yeah, if it's during the boss
Oh
encounter,
no,
that's
Tanner. Okay, so they're nerfing left then. Sorry,
Yeah, okay.
they're nerfing the AoE.
That's good.
And
The main reason for that, I believe, is because they've added AoE damage to the boss, right? It does that AoE ground explosion thing, and I think it was a little bit too much with the AoE from the girl too.
Yeah,
that's fair. The last thing for Priory is lunging strike, the dot, the bleed. Got nerfed to 12 seconds from 18 seconds.
From Chainmail?
Oh, that's good.
Nice.
That's definitely
yeah.
The
I
mob
guess
is
not technically on the boss, but like that bleed hurt.
the mob is annoying. It was dodge or die.
Yeah, but it's 12 seconds at 18. That's still like a long time, but
yeah, I think bleeds that go beyond like, or any sort of debuff that goes beyond 8 or 9 seconds is really, really rough. Because I feel like, a defensive doesn't even save you, right? Like either a big defensive that lasts 3 or 4 seconds in like an important period, or a smaller defensive like bark skin, but it'll last the whole time. But when it's literally like 12 plus seconds of a debuff, it's like, what are you like? Are you expected to just press every single defensive on your bar during it, or like what?
I think I mean this is the alternative of getting one shot, right?
Yeah.
They put a dot on you that does 400% of your HP over 18 seconds. It is we complain so much about not wanting to get one shot. This is kind of the alternative, right?
Yeah, I guess my only problem is then you have that plus other things that one shot you, right? I guess that
don't get hit by it is the answer, right? Like, it doesn't one shot people in lower keys. It doesn't really one shot you. It doesn't one shot you in higher keys. You can heal through it and you can defensive through it and stuff like that. I think it's fine. Yeah. I think these are good changes to Priory. I don't know if it's going to make you start going right yet. Like, I'm going to have to get back in that dungeon and really start feeling it out. I think that all the stuff with the dungeons, there's, again, we're going to talk about next week. There's some changes that I would like to make to some of the bosses and Azavesh and whatnot. I think the season's gearing up to be an absolute banger. I'm stoked.
Yeah. How was the third boss Halls? Because they nerfed that boss.
Fucking awful.
An absolute awful. Yeah, it is.
Okay, well,
awful.
I assumed by these nerfs they were pretty awful.
They nerfed it? Oh yeah, that fight is terrible. Like, basically the lantern doesn't spawn fast enough, and the ghost does way too much damage.
Is there a spread mechanic now? I don't remember the spread mechanic.
Yeah, there is.
There's debuffs that it puts out that put a circle around you. Yep.
Yeah, they nerfed that by like 10%, and then they nerfed her Anima Bolt.
Really? That's what they nerfed? I would have nerfed everything else.
Yeah, they nerfed the tank bolt and they increased its cast time.
That's good. I mean, that is good.
And they nerfed the dot by 10%.
The problem with that fight is the lantern respawn rate is too short relative to the ghosts being out. So it's.
I mean, they could change that. That's not data mineable, so.
Yeah. Like,
they'll probably post notes tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we get a new set of dungeons tomorrow. Do we? What dungeons do we even get?
Yeah, what are we testing tomorrow? I think we're going back to the original. So Eco.
I was under the impression that they're like combining them now. I think like they're bringing.
Yeah.
They're like, I think they're adding back in the. I don't remember.
I think it's probably Ecodome plus War Within Dungeons. If I had to guess, that's probably
I think that's what it is.
I'm pulling up Wowhead 1 second. Scrolling. I remember it was on here. Week 3 was Legacy.
Yeah, War Within.
Oh, you fucking nailed it.
Yep, War Within Dungeons and Ecodome, Aldani. Yep.
So Ecodome is going to be in for the rest of PTR. The coming week that you're listening to this now is going to be War Within again. Then it's going to be the Legacy dungeons again, and then it's all the dungeons, and then we're playing the patch.
I think these Legacy dungeons need the most testing, personally. There's some,
they felt a little weird.
There's some.
I was listening to you guys talk about them last week, and it was like, God damn, that is. Yeah. When Growl was saying like, one of these fights is now super melee unfriendly. I don't remember which one it was. They changed something to be target, like to also target melee now. It's like, why did they do this?
Oh yeah, the Dawnbreaker first boss. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was random. Yeah, okay, that was just like a really random change.
Yeah, what's really funny is I remember watching a streamer do that boss, and he was like tanking, and he was like getting frustrated. He was like, "Why do the range keep baiting in melee?" And I just want to be like, "Bro, it's not that like it's literally the melee dropping it," but he didn't even know or he didn't realize it yet.
All right, we're out of here this week. We will be back next week with episode 54 of The Bench, powered by Wowhead. In the meantime, see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye, friends.